Creed Valhalla in-depth review. If you want to see a shorter, spoiler-free review, be sure to check out my other video in the description below. This review is going to be mainly going into the issues that I found with the game and why I feel that the game was a big disappointment. It is worth mentioning that these are my views and opinions and may differ from yours. There are some things in this review that I'm going to say aren't very good, but that's from the view of reviewing a Assassin's Creed game rather than in general for games. There are some mechanics like the combat, for example, which is a similar style to games in other series, which works really well for those games, but I personally don't feel that it fits or works in an Assassin's Creed game, so without further ado, let's get started. Going into the game I was expecting good things. A few months ago I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I absolutely loved it. Seeing as this was the follow-on game from Odyssey, I expected it to be at least the same, if not better. Sadly from the start I began to find issues. There are numerous bugs, and not even small bugs. The game was still while playing, the audio would cut out when I switched from mouse and keyboard to controller. There were animation bugs during conversations, assassinations, or finishing moves. Fire sometimes just didn't load, so you'd be walking through an area and just set fire randomly. And there were really bad collision boxes in the Asgard boss fights. It is worth mentioning, whilst discussing the bugs, that this is the launch version of the game that I'm talking about. As of today that I'm recording, the 15th of December, Ubisoft has just released a huge update to fix a ton of bugs, so if you play the game now, you might not run into many bugs, although the audio bug from changing device seems to still be there. One of the key mechanics in the past two games has been your flying companion. They can be used to spot enemies, find loot, and even discover secrets. Whilst the Ravenous game can still find loot and objectives, they've removed the ability for us to spot enemies and find secret locations like caves and staircases. The detection of enemies was sort of made up for by the use of Odin's Sight, being able to detect enemies, but not being able to find your way in secret locations I found made it frustrating and annoying to search for loot. There were areas where I would run around trying to find how to get to a chest and couldn't find any indication, and honestly, I gave up searching for most of the game as to not waste time. If I had been playing off stream, this may have been different, but as I had people watching, I didn't want to spend 20 minutes searching every nook and cranny to get a piece of armor I wasn't going to use. With all Assassin's Creed games, there's always been a focus on exploration, whether it be exploring the streets of Venice, sailing across the Caribbean Sea, or in this game, running through the forest of England. I've generally been a fan of the exploration, but I didn't find the pull in this game to make me want to explore. There are three main reasons in this game to explore: find loot or artifacts, complete mysteries, and hunt legendary creatures. As mentioned before, searching for loot with the Raven, losing some of the previous mechanics, didn't appeal to me, so that put me off right away. The mysteries are sort of side quests, but most of them were just really odd encounters where the developers were trying to be funny. But I feel like the issue here is that it's not my kind of humour. I've seen multiple other sources discuss the mysteries, for example the Button Mash Pod, make sure to check them out in the description below, who said that they found them a great humorous break from the seriousness of the story. So if it's your kind of humour, you may enjoy it a bit more than myself. Now, for legendary creatures, I'll be honest, I didn't look at this until I'd stopped streaming the game, as I wanted to focus mainly on the story while streaming. But the moment I saw the graphic, it put me off even looking. You get shown what all the legendary creatures are, but little to no indication as to where they are. As I was trying to finish up the game, I just didn't bother looking, as I assumed that I'd have to search and come across them randomly in the world. However, from some post-game research, it seems that the reason that I never found them is the game classifies them as mysteries across the map. So if I had done a bit of exploring, going to all the mysteries, then I might have run into them. But due to the exploration not being too fun, that had a knock-on effect, so I kind of missed out on the legendary creatures in a way. One thing that I will say about the exploration is that the game is beautiful. Due to streaming the game and performance issues, I had to play on medium graphics, but it still looks amazing. Off stream I went back, increased the graphics to high, and was just blown away with how beautiful it looks. If I had all the time in the world and didn't have a huge list of games to play, I would probably just sit there on top of the hills, cliffs, and just gaze at the environment for hours. In the latest Assassin's Creed games, they changed the combat system and made it more predominant than the older games, meaning the stealth to combat ratio was a bit more of a 50-50 split. In this game, they seem to tip the scale towards combat even more, making stealth less relevant. Here is why I say that. There are a lot of times, especially during the main story, where you're attacking in a group or with your raiding party. Due to this, the guards are alert, and you don't get to have the chance to be stealthy. I even attempted to sneak my way into a raid at one point, but to access some of the buildings, you need to have someone else there to help break open the door, and even for some of the chests. There were even a few changes to stealth as well, which made this even harder. Double assassination has been removed, so if you had two targets standing by each other, you had to find a way to split them apart. Also, without getting one of the skills from the skill tree, Avil just sounded like an elephant doing tap dance when he landed from a high point, which automatically alerted surrounding guards, breaking stealth. Two things that actually help with stealth is the chain assassination and the advanced assassination skills. Chain assassination allows you to assassinate one target and if still undetected, choose another target to throw an axe at to kill. Whereas advanced assassination allows you to one-shot enemies which are usually out of your damage range, gives you a quick time event, and if you manage to complete it, then you automatically assassinate them as well. This also combines with chain assassination in case the second target is a stronger opponent. Whilst this obviously made the stealth better, I still felt discouraged from playing stealthy, which is okay for a Viking game, but when I play Assassin's Creed, one of the main things I'm looking to do is sneak around, stab people, and disappear into the shadows. Now, I said that the game is more focused on combat, so let's talk about that a bit. If you played Origins, Odyssey, or Syndicate, you remember how the combat was pretty fluid. You were able to dash between targets, you felt light on your feet, and in combination with some combat abilities, you could dispatch my targets with ease while slowly taking down the tougher brutes. I found that Valhalla was a lot slower. The combat feels kind of clunky, less fluid, and when attacking with certain weapons, it felt like Ivor had bricks in his shoes, slowing you down significantly, so weapons like the dagger actually stopped you moving completely. To me, slower combat works better when it's only a few enemies, as you slowly work your way through them, timing your attacks and dodging away when needed. For the amount of enemies in Valhalla, I feel like a faster combat would have been better. There were many times when I was outnumbered by a bunch of enemies, and due to being slow from the attacks, I had to attack maybe once or twice and then disengage, which for a game where I'm playing a mighty Viking, didn't feel right. Sure, I don't expect to go full berserker and smash through my foes with ease, but I also don't want to be super careful weaving in attacks every now and then to deal with standard soldier. This was especially true in raids and sieges where there were either loads of enemies or endless waves. So, what about the weapons themselves? There were some really cool things with the weapons, but at the same time, it felt like things were missing. The weapons that you did have were pretty cool. Each had a different attack styles, a finishing moves, and even different effects in the offhand. The main combination that I used were either a two-handed greatsword, flail and shield, or a dagger and shield. Each weapon combination allows you to fight in a different way and allows you to choose the weapon depending on your playstyle. Oh, and if you're interested in Valhalla, you probably know, but you can dual wield shields, which is actually a lot of fun. Off stream, I actually changed it up to a flail and dagger with my offhand. One of the cool things that this allowed me to do was attack not only with the dagger, but when you finish the attack, you give a quick swipe and dash backwards, which actually helps to dodge attacks and also get out of sticky situations. I'm not sure what some of the other weapons do in your offhand, so if you play, I would advise checking them out and seeing what they're like yourselves. Now, while the weapons which are available are pretty fun to use, there aren't really that many. You don't find a lot of weapons throughout the game, so you're kind of stuck when it comes to variety. There aren't even any one-handed swords unless I somehow managed to miss them all. You can purchase weapons from the general store, however you earn very little money in the game. When I played, you couldn't even see the stats of the weapons. It seems to be fixed in the latest update, so it might be worth buying weapons if you see them with better stats, but I'd have to leave that up to you. Me personally, I just spent all my money on resources to upgrade my weapons that I was currently using. Talking about the upgrading of weapons, they did it pretty differently to Odyssey. Each weapon has different tiers, and you need to have certain resources to take it to the next tier. From there, you can then upgrade it a few times to upgrade the stats and also unlock rune slots. From taking a weapon to the next tier, you not only got additional rune slots and stats, you also changed the aesthetic of the weapon. This allowed you to take a weapon from the start of the game all the way through the game if you wanted, so if you found something you really liked, you could keep it. This actually includes your father's axe, which you get at the start of the game, so if you really want, you could take that through the entire game for lore purposes, which would be pretty cool. So I've been talking about weapons here, but it's basically the exact same for armor. Wasn't a lot of variety through the game, able to upgrade it, and you could get it from the shops in the same way as described with the weapons. We've spoken about combat and we've spoken about weapons, however one thing that I've skimmed over is the skill tree and abilities. Valhalla boasts a huge skill tree and has a pretty unique way of earning abilities. The skill tree is huge and is represented by Norse constellations, however it isn't just filled with skills. Each level up you get 2 skill points which can be used to purchase stat increases like health, headshot damage or assassination damage or skills. Some of the skills like chain assassination and advanced assassination were really useful, but as a whole, most of them were pretty useless. The skill tree was also hidden, meaning that unless you had a path to the constellation, you couldn't see what was available there, which I found pretty frustrating as you just had to follow the path randomly and hope that the skill was pretty good. This has been updated since launch, however, I mention it because when I played it was like this and I honestly think it's a really bad design choice. As mentioned, the ability system was pretty interesting. You had to explore around the world to find ability books. Each one of these was linked to an ability and would unlock that ability upgrade to the second level if you already had it. Now, this has 2 flaws. One, as mentioned, I didn't really enjoy the exploration required to find the books, and 2, the abilities weren't really that interesting. I remember in Odyssey switching between all the abilities, resetting my abilities multiple times to try out different things, and constantly pondering which ones I want to use. In this game, I basically used the same abilities over and over again. It's not because the abilities were great, it was more because I might as well use the adrenaline points to do some extra consistent damage. I feel like we were spoiled by the awesome abilities in Odyssey, which made this feel even worse in my opinion. There was some in Valhalla which had potential, but either did lackluster damage or just missed it half the time. I feel like this is going to be a contested opinion, and a lot of people may have enjoyed the ability system in this game, so if you played Valhalla, please leave a comment below, even if it's just a simple I enjoyed the abilities or I didn't enjoy the abilities, as I'd really be interested to know. What I've personally done is just stick with the system like Odyssey, where each level up you choose an ability to unlock or upgrade, and your statistics are based on which abilities you have, plus extra bonuses from gear. Also, I found that you level up way too often in Valhalla and honestly became annoying to a point where I just didn't spend my ability points until I'd accumulated a number of them. Two things that I enjoyed a lot in the game were the addition of raids and sieges. These involved you attacking a secure location with a group of warriors and either killing and pillaging all your path or carving away through the battles to the main objective. I did find that sometimes the friendly AI didn't want to join the fight, and on 2 occasions had issues with them refusing to assist in opening doors and chests. But apart from that, it was good fun. If you wanted, there were even random little outposts for you to raid as you sail on the river. Just make sure to check the level of the area before starting the raid. I definitely made that mistake a few times. Overall, the game just doesn't feel finished, and it feels like they've mashed 2 games together. Obviously, there were a lot of limitations with time and money, but this would have been a lot better as 2 separate games in my opinion. One game where you play as Vikings coming over to England and taking over the country, another game which focuses on the Assassin's Creed story. Oh, and as we're talking about the story, let's talk about the order. Whilst I'm not going to go into depth of the story, I just want to say one thing. Why can you see the silhouettes of the characters? I literally walked into a brand new quest line and saw someone and knew straight away that they were an Order member. This makes no sense. What's the point of it being a secret order if we know who they are? It'd be 100% better just to give them a default silhouette so we can't tell who they are until it's been revealed. I just can't get my head around why this is a good idea, and I do wonder sometimes how these things go through planning meetings. Now, I have spoken about a lot of negative points in this review, and you may feel that I'm being overcritical, so I'm going to address that at this point. Assassin's Creed, as you know, is a huge franchise and is owned by Ubisoft, one of the largest gaming companies at the moment, and with the success of Odyssey, a lot of people, myself included, had high hopes for this game. I feel that this game is a huge step down from Odyssey, and the quality of the game is nowhere near where it should be coming from one of the largest gaming companies. If this game had been released by a small company, I'd be singing its praises and would be telling you that it's a good game, as I state multiple times through my playthrough. The issue is that the standard for games in my opinion should be much higher for large companies like Ubisoft, Square Enix, EA and Xbox Game Studios, as they have the resources to be able to make high quality games. So when the game releases with the issues that Valhalla has, I'm disappointed and I'm going to be critical about it, especially when it is for a long-standing series like Assassin's Creed. If you watch through my playthrough, I say a lot that the game is disappointing, but at the same time, it's not a bad game. It was fun to play, just disappointing coming from a company like Ubisoft, which should be making top-tier games, and after Odyssey, this game was just worse. If you do want to pick this game up, I would honestly wait until the sale comes. At this point, it feels like Ubisoft just put the Assassin's Creed title on the game to make them sell, which as an Assassin's Creed fan feels pretty bad. In my opinion, Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla should be part of a brand new series of games and not Assassin's Creed games at all. What I would love to see happen is the next Assassin's Creed game to be based in the current era and have it as a final battle between the Assassins and Templars. It would allow for them to create some really cool gadgets and a chance to give Assassin's Creed a last huzzah before starting a brand new series with the same engine and mechanics, but that's just my opinion. Now if you are interested in picking up Assassin's Creed, I would advise waiting for a sale honestly. It's a fun game and has a lot of content to delve into, but I don't feel like the quality of the game justifies at the full price. Have you played Assassin's Creed Valhalla? What did you think of it? And did your opinions differ from mine? Please let me know in the comment section down below. I hope that you enjoyed my in-depth review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe. And if you haven't done already, be sure to check out my other social media accounts in the description below.